Chapter 1. There is something to be said about failure. It is indeed a great teacher, for show me just one person who, barehanded, reaches for the really hot pot a second time. One might make a last-ditch effort after a lifetime of such grand education as trying to be a writer of mysteries. I remember the time I began writing my third novel. I had already made some success on my second novel, Tuscany Velvet, and that success brought the sales of my first novel, Failure at Suicide, to a level my publisher vastly forgave me for. With a little taste of wealth in my pockets for, as near as I can remember, is the first time in my life I could even think of such things as an island vacation. Now I can imagine things like, I think I will write tomorrow's chapter in Bombay, book me a ticket, Seal. After the second novel, well, I was getting both restless and bored. I mean, I had been working hard on writing a successful novel for most of my life. Therefore, for me anyway, life as a dedicated novelist had been lengthy, rather sparse, and hard. BRRRR, if I just start thinking of all those barely feed yourself and have a place to sleep jobs and I start to weep. I think I just took in one life employment experience too many. I now suffer from shell shock. With my last novel, Tuscany Velvet, maintaining a position in the top 10 of the bestsellers list for 23 weeks. I am raking in more moolah than I handled in all those places cash registers times 100 at the very least. Just 10 weeks ago, I was living in a Brooklyn Railroad apartment. Now I have the top floor of the plaza, and I don't have a worry about leaving it empty for a few months and paying the rent with ease. However, when I see the bills, I practically jump out of my skin. I mean, it is still so very much money to me. Then I see the checks, royalty checks, property residuals, TV spots, endorsements, movies, and checks from anyone who uses the names of any of my characters from the book. I still have to ask my agent about some of the deals and angles in which my fullest exploitation is actuated. Well, I will get used to it. I just hope that when I get used to it, the bottom doesn't fall out, leaving me to get used to something I was already used to. I get nervous. I mean, I am just on my way up, and I have to write another bestseller. Does anyone realize how very long it took me to write the first? It started last week at a book signing. My publisher and agent were there. The signing event was going quite well. I had absolutely no thought in my entire mind about writing. Actually, I was more in mind for a long, luxurious vacation, getting away from the center of publishing and promotion in the USA and just plain sleuthing for a few months. Just like we have been taught in our education system. Those wonderful 3-month-long vacations, well, I can have them now. And that is that. I am not a big planner. I gave Seal 2 weeks off with pay and a bonus. Perhaps that wasn't a good idea? My publisher gave me Seal to basically take care of everything I needed done but write novels. At first I didn't like the idea at all. I have a vague memory of living with something called a family until age 9, a few relationships. However, most of my life I lived alone, took care of myself. It was the move to the plaza that endured me to Seal and the idea of giving so much control of my living space and life to someone other than myself. My agent Edsel Wakim had been working me hard, booking me with public appearances, TV and radio talk shows, book signings, press conferences, and parties. They were the worst at times. Edsel didn't believe in the simple 5-day-a-week work schedule. These bookings were 7 days a week, some on very short call, others waking me from what could have been a great deep fuzzy wonderful night's sleep, only to rush out to some late-night special appearance. One would think the press would be sick of me by now after 3 months of this. However, even now I was considered good filler on easy news nights. This was because my wonderful agent made me available to the press. I was one that lived in Manhattan, could be called on short notice, and had a reputation for always showing up on time. Hence the media found me useful. Still, the pace had diminished to barely one booking a week. I instinctively knew that I could now get away and regroup whatever it is that makes me, me. I was pretty sure that the me that would manifest would not be exactly the me I was before success raped me so gently. Already my perceptions of how things worked in the world had evolved. There was plenty to inspire me in this new life. I kept my notebook up to date with my daily observations, ideas, and impressions, anything that might be useful in some future writing. While riding around town in my chauffeur-driven limo, trying to think of what vacation to take and where, I thought how strange it all was. I had walked most of these sidewalks the limo passed, I had eaten outside from the corner food stands, and there had been no car in my life. Just now I begin to notice how very easy it is to become contained by wealth, overlooking things one once was a part of. Not that this bothered me at all. I decided to instruct the chauffeur to take me to Kennedy Airport. I would just let fate decide where I go by taking the first booking I could get that would take off hopefully within the hour. If none were available, I would have the driver take me to other airports until I found a flight that meets the criteria of being my fate flight. Now let me get this understood precisely, Mr. Klamath. You want me to drive here and there to all these airports until we find one that will have an open flight that leaves within 1 hour of our arrival? Driver, what is your name? It is Ralston, boss, Ralph Rado Ralston. Okay, I will just call you Ralph if you don't mind, Ralph. Actually, I prefer Rado, and if you don't mind, boss. I will just keep calling you boss. It helps me focus on who is who, okay? Sure thing, Rado. I sorta like being called boss for a change. Air. Listen, Rado, you got any place to be for, say, the next month? Chapter 2.